You're listening to Potty Mouth Radio, the home of movies, music, television, and comedy.
And now, the hunt for the perfect album.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Hunt for the Perfect Album with Billy and Dave, a We Watched a Thing joint. And this week, it is an album that I have thrown at Dave. And this is a tricky one. On one side of the fence, I feel overly confident because I re-listened to this album twice this week, and I even messaged you, Dave, and said, I feel like this is the most perfect album I've given you. I feel certain you're going to enjoy this one. You, on the other hand, have given me nothing. You keep pretending you've forgotten what the name of the album and the name of the band is. I don't know. For all I know, you hated this, so I'm excited for this one. But we are talking about Big Heavy Stuffs, The Size of the Ocean, 2001. Fuck you. 2001 album by an Australian band. Not their first album, but definitely their best. In fact, they have just reissued it on vinyl month before last.
I saw that.
Hopefully you saw that when you were looking it up to order it because you love the album so much. How I came to this album. This was the first album I heard of this band. And I was introduced to it by a great friend of mine, the same friend who introduced me to the Locksmiths, who introduced me to a lot of music that I love. They gave me the first album I ever had, which was Daisies of the Galaxy by Eels, which is another album which is on my list to give you at some point. And so, yeah, I would have been, 13 maybe when this album came out and when I got given it. And I loved it back then. I loved it back then and I've loved it ever since. I think it's some of the finest songwriting that you will find. I think lyrically some of these songs are really strong. Stylistically, I don't even know how you'd define this band. Some of it is pop, some of it's very folky, some of it can be quite heavy. So let's hop straight into it then and you tell me about your experience with Size of the Ocean by Big Heavy Stuff.
Good album.
Okay. All right.
Good album. No, I really like it. I haven't had the chance to listen to it as many times as I would have liked before talking about it. I almost said, "Oh, look, should we leave it a week?" But I'm confident. Like I can say, I really, really like it. So
okay.
I thought, "Oh, well, that's good enough." I don't need. I'm not any sort of a question mark about whether I think it's good or not. I think it's a really good album. I would never have picked them as a Aussie band.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, like I said, it's very interesting. I've actually seen conflicting things. I was certain they were from the Blue Mountains. Spotify told me they were from Brisbane. Their Wikipedia says Sydney. So
that's what I read in the review.
Yeah. So I was certain they were from the Blue Mountains region. So you wouldn't have picked that?
No. I mean, we'll get straight into it. The first track, Hibernate, started, and for the first half of this song, I was like, I really like this, but it sounds like Oasis doing a cover of Lynyrd Skynyrd's Freebird.
Yeah, right. Okay. So this was their only real hit from the album. From memory, this made it into the Triple J Hottest 100 of this year. Oh, and really? I don't think it was high. I think it was low. But this was the only song off the album that got any airplay. And this was probably their first kind of quote-unquote hit.
Oh, yeah.
To write this letter, myth of epic size. You could baptize she and send her to the good old USA.
I can see where you're coming from with Oasis. I can definitely see that. Yeah,
a bit of Champagne Supernova or something.
Yeah, definitely.
Vibe on that.
Yeah.
But the intonation and the way the first half of the track, it stops later the further you get in. The first half of it, the intonation and the way that the song's structured is really similar to Freebird, the Lynyrd Skynyrd song, which it was. I mean, I love that song, so I was kind of, but it was throwing me off a little bit. But I really, really liked it, and the first 3 tracks I really, really liked, Devil's Tongue and particularly Laughing Boy. The third track, loved all of them.
Yeah. going to sound like a weird comparison, but that song always reminds me a little bit of Tool. The guitar bass, the kind of changes in timing and rhythm.
I am weirdly, given my age and sort of when I was listening to a lot of alternative stuff, I do not know Tool much at all.
Right.
And
interesting.
I know everyone says, "Oh, you know, fucking Anima and whatever," but Stinkfist, all this stuff. I've obviously heard Tool. Nothing's ever grabbed me.
Yeah, right.
And I kind of feel like I should really like them because I know how well thought of Maynard is, and I know how well regarded they are for musicianship and songwriting and all the rest of it. But no, never done it for me.
Right.
So I'm gonna have to admit the second half of this album, I need to listen to more to sort of pick between songs.
Yep.
There's a couple that I remember particularly liking, but the first half I've listened to probably 3 or 4 times. The second half only once or twice. But I really liked the ballad, which I think is Redhead.
Yeah, Redhead is one of my favorite tracks. It's probably my second favorite. That's the Longest Day.
And the redhead wants some time. Isn't this the longest day I've spent? Because the redhead wants a sign.
There would have been a time where that would have been my favorite track. But as I've gotten older, it's my second favorite now.
Okay. I'll be interested to when we get to whichever that is, if we haven't already. The next track's another one I really like, Helen's Razor. I lyrically, I just really like the songwriting of it. I just think
I think these guys are cracking songwriters. I think lyrically everything is really strong. And like I said, I think there's a lot of diversity stylistically on this album.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Every track sounds quite distinct from the last, I think.
Yeah. Then the next couple I don't recall well enough. I know Hank I don't think really grabbed me. I think that was one of the slightly heavier ones. Yeah. And I liked it, but it wasn't one of the ones that jumped out at me. Wide-Eyed and Open I did like.
Yeah, that's the one that's my favorite now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, see, I know.
I'm Wide-Eyed and Open and Forever Sighs the Ocean. I don't know if I'm remembering which is which correctly.
Yeah.
I know I like them both, and I know one of them I really quite liked a lot.
Yeah.
But I can't recall which one it is.
It's one of those things where I honestly can't even tell you why that's my favorite. I just really, really love that song.
Yeah, that's not the one I really like. That's the one I just like a bit.
Yeah.
It must Forever Sighs the Ocean must be the one that I really quite liked a lot. So yeah, Forever Sighs. I think that's the sort of quote unquote almost title track, isn't it? The one that
more or less,
puts the name of the album in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that. And then I'm going to have to be completely honest. The last 3 tracks I don't recall.
Interesting. Freaks in the Circus, which is the third last track.
I don't think I like that as much.
Right.
As most of the others.
It's a very interesting track. It's the
weird one, yeah?
It's very weird. I really like it. Yeah. Like what she's actually doing there is playing electric guitar with a violin bow, which is how you get that strange sound at times. Yep. I really love this track.
Freaks in the sky.
That's
I
that's
really
another
like that
track
now.
that has really grown on me over the years. Like, I don't know that I loved that one when I first started listening to this album, and the more I've listened to it, the more I really love that song.
I like it more now than I did half an hour ago or an hour ago. Whenever I was in the car.
Yeah.
No, it's reminding me a lot of something from the early 90s, and I can't think what band it is, but I have a feeling, because like I said, I really, really like this album. I'm going to keep listening to it. And it'll be interesting to see if these ones that I'm not remembering as well, because I haven't listened to them as many times, sort of rise in the rankings.
Yeah. So do you have a current favorite track?
I think I'd say Hibernate.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Pretty confidently. I really like, as I said, the first half where it's kind of like Oasis doing Lynyrd Skynyrd, I really like, and then it kind of changes up when you get to the chorus and becomes something completely different, and I like that as well.
Yeah.
At this stage, I'd say that's, if I'm going to chuck something on in a playlist or just to listen to, that's going to be my first pick, I think.
Yeah, nice. It's definitely worth, if you like this album, it's definitely worth checking out some of their other stuff. Their album prior to this, called Maximum Sincere, has one of my favorite songs of all time on it. And the album after this, which from memory was their last album, called Dear Friends and Enemies.
They did one after this in 2004.
Yes, yeah. That's also a very good album. But this, for me, is clearly their best. And I think most people agree, like, there's a reason why that's the album that they've just reissued.
And the reissue makes a lot of sense, because when I went sort of Googling briefly just to sort of see where they were from and stuff, there's like 4 or 5 reviews of this album that are all from like last year or the year before.
Yeah, right.
And it's obviously because of the reissue.
Yeah.
Because they're all something going, oh, great albums that you unfairly forgotten or overlooked.
Well, that's the thing. This band, like, I think this is literally one of the best albums of all time. Hibernate is their most listened to song on Spotify, 127,000 streams, which isn't that much. Only 3,000 monthly listeners for this band, which is nothing. So you think some of the other bands I've given you, like Martha or something, maybe sound a bit DIY. They've got thousands more listens than these guys. But I adore this album so much. Like, I've loved it for the last, 25 odd years. So
it's very good. And I can see why you were thinking, it's one of the more confident picks that you've given me, because it's pretty hard to not like this album, I would imagine. Yeah.
Well, and I think that there's a track on here for everyone. Like, I think that it is stylistically so diverse. If like pop is more your thing, I think some of these songs hit that. If heavier rock is more your thing, it hits it. If folk is your thing, songs like Hibernate hit it. And I think that these guys have a really charming way of blending all those genres in a lot of these songs as well. So I'm glad that you enjoyed it. What are you giving it out of 10?
Look, I'm a 7 at the moment.
Yeah,
but I'm pretty confident that's going to go up as I get more familiar with it. It is really so. It's not my favorite of the things you've given me.
Yeah,
it's. I don't think it's ever going to be kind of Charlie Bliss. Level.
Yeah.
But it's very, very good, and I'll definitely be listening to it more, and I'll check out their other albums.
Yeah, nice.
Very, very good.
All right. Well, what are you giving?
I don't know why.
Week?
Oh, I did have a list, and I was looking for it before.
Yeah, I finally just made a Spotify playlist of what I think are perfect albums, so that I can more quickly look through that.
Oh, wait a minute. I can search. I know I've got a notes thing with albums. Wait a minute. Oh, okay. I didn't think to look in my favorite films of 2013 note. Albums for Billy. Here we go. Okay, you've had that. You've had that. Had that now. How weird do I want to go?
You've given me some great stuff. I don't know if I told you, I picked up Lovely by the Primitives on vinyl quite recently, because
made me very happy.
I think that is a very perfect album. I've been spinning that constantly.
Awesome. Have you given any of their others a listen yet?
I haven't yet. I've seen that on Spotify there is
Definitely
like a
check
best
out Pure.
of. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Essentially, there's really 3 main albums. The one
I saw
after
actually that
Lovely,
they
Pure,
released one.
is actually good.
I saw that they released one very recently, like this year or.
I think they've just because I mentioned to you they're actually touring. I'm seeing them next month.
Yeah, right.
Which shocked the hell out of me.
Oh, geez, there's so many. I would love to come see them, but I'm already like I think I told you, Shonen Knife. I'm seeing at they're playing the last Friday of this month, and then the week after that, the Beths are playing in Sydney, and I'm hoping to head up for that because I fucking love the Beths.
Count me in. I haven't.
Yeah.
I needed to check on kids' situation stuff, but I've been so good. I haven't even checked them out. I don't know if I'm going to like them or not. But,
well, I'm going to give you one of their albums next, so you will listen to it before we go. But
good. Okay.
All right.
I'm having a big swing with this one. This could be the first album that one of us hates. I'm going to give. Are you familiar with Laurie Anderson?
I'm not familiar with that name at all.
She's a performance artist, probably more so than musician.
Okay.
Really. Married to Lou Reed for many, many years.
Oh, okay.
Until he died. Only ever had one charting song in the 80s, I think, called Oh Superman. I'm going to give you an album of hers called Big Science, which is fairly early. And she did a big tour called, it was just called USA or United States or something like that. And initially released the whole tour. It was like this 8-sided monolith. And then ended up consolidating that show down into one album called Big Science. And I think it was her first regular album release.
Yeah, right. Okay.
But yeah, it's odd.
All right. I'm keen for that.
I love her.
Yeah.
I could have given you one of her later albums where it's more musical.
Yep. No, I'm in for some weirdness.
I've just gone, no, fuck it.
I'm in for it.
I'm going to go back when it was pure performance art and just, let the chips fall where they may.
Excellent. I am keen. I'm looking forward to that, actually. That's going to be fun. All right. Well, thank you for joining us here on The Perfect Album. We love you all, and we will catch you next week.
Toodles.
Using Helen's razor, never again. She just slices a blade, says, "Be my guest." Once she voted labor, never again. On the right, it's a mess. On the left, the same.